The UES Defiant hung in the void like a predator waiting to strike, humanity's first true interstellar warship. Its sleek black hull absorbed the distant starlight, making it appear like a moving shadow against the cosmic backdrop. The ship represented decades of human innovation, built in secret following the resource wars that had nearly destroyed Earth. Captain Juan Park stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back, as she surveyed her crew with quiet pride. Her dark uniform fit perfectly against her tall frame, the silver insignia of Earth's united fleet catching the light as she moved. After centuries of isolation within their solar system, humanity was finally venturing beyond known space. Final checks complete, Captain, reported Executive Officer Taeyong Kim, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. All systems nominal. Very good, Juan replied, allowing herself a small smile. Engage the drive. Let's see what's out there. The massive engines hummed to life, building to a crescendo that vibrated through the entire ship. Space itself seemed to bend around the Defiant before it vanished in a burst of distorted reality, leaving Earth behind. The crew felt the familiar sensation of a jump, like being stretched in all directions at once, then snapped back to normal. Lieutenant Do-Yun Ryu at navigation recovered first, checking their position. Jump successful, Captain. We've reached the target coordinates in the Arcturus sector. Juan nodded. Begin scanning protocols. Let's get our bearings before. Captain, interrupted Ensign Jisu Bai of the sensor station. I'm detecting multiple energy signatures ahead. They appear to be ships engaged in combat. Across the galaxy, in the gleaming central chamber of the Galactic Concord, Diplomat Naru of the Tresson species stood before the massive observation window. His blue-scaled skin reflected the ambient light as his four eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of irritation among his kind. An aide approached, carrying a data tablet. Hi, Diplomat. We've detected an anomalous vessel entering Sector 7, the aide reported. It appeared suddenly, using an unknown form of faster-than-light travel. Naru waved one of his upper limbs dismissively. Another primitive species seeking our protection, no doubt, he sighed. Schedule a standard welcome delegation. Inform them of the proper approach vectors, and have the integration team prepare the usual welcome package. Yes, High Diplomat, the aide replied with a bow. Little did he know that the approaching vessel would upend centuries of galactic order. Back on the Defiant, the crew watched with growing concern as the tactical display showed a one-sided battle. A sleek silver vessel bearing unfamiliar markings was under attack by three predatory ships that reminded Juan of Earth's ancient manta rays. The attacking vessels moved with frightening precision, their energy weapons tearing through the silver ship's failing defenses. Captain, we're detecting distress signals, Communications Officer Haijin Kang reported, her voice steady despite the tension. I've managed to translate parts of it. The vessel under attack appears to be a patrol craft belonging to something called the Galactic Concord, some kind of alliance. The attackers are identified in their transmissions as Vrex. Tactical Officer Minsu Choi added, the patrol vessel's shields are failing. They won't last another 5 minutes at this rate. Juwan's face hardened as she weighed her options. The Defiant's mission was exploration and first contact, not military intervention. Protocol dictated observation and non-interference in conflicts between unknown parties. But as she watched another barrage hit the silver ship, she saw escape pods launching, only to be systematically targeted by the attackers. These weren't combatants fighting a fair battle. This was slaughter. Weapons status, she asked, her voice cold and clear. All systems online and ready, Captain, Minsu responded, slightly surprised. The bridge fell silent as everyone turned to look at Juwan. This would be humanity's first interaction with alien species, not a careful diplomatic exchange, but a battle. Whatever she decided would forever shape how humans were viewed by the galactic community. Juwan took a deep breath and made her decision. Battle stations, she ordered, her voice firm. Prepare to intervene. Target the attacking vessels only. I want precision strikes. Disable rather than destroy if possible. As alert klaxons sounded throughout the ship, Executive Officer Taeyong looked at his captain. This could be considered an act of war against these wrecks, whoever they are. Juwon nodded. Perhaps, but I won't stand by and watch a massacre when we have the power to stop it. That's not who we are, and that's not the face of humanity I want to show to the stars. The Defiant's engines roared to life as it accelerated toward the battle, weapons systems coming online. Humanity's first contact was about to begin with thunder and fire. The Defiant accelerated toward the battle, its massive engines glowing blue against the blackness of space. Captain Juwon sat forward in her command chair, eyes fixed on the tactical display as her ship raced to intervene. Weapons hot. Target the lead Vrex vessel, she ordered. Tactical Officer Mince's fingers moved across his console with practiced ease. Quantum torpedoes locked. Firing solutions ready. Fire. The human warship released a salvo of brilliant blue projectiles that streaked across space toward the unsuspecting attackers. The Vrex ships, sleek and predatory in design, continued their assault on the Concord patrol vessel, completely unaware of the new threat. The torpedoes struck with devastating precision. The first Vrex ship shields flared bright orange before collapsing completely. The vessel spun out of control, venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. Aboard the lead Vrex ship, Fleet Commander Torres staggered as his vessel shuddered under the unexpected attack. His yellow eyes widened as damage reports flooded his command console. "Impossible," he exclaimed, mandibles clicking in agitation. "What manner of vessel is this? Where did it come from?" His sensor officer, still reeling from the shock, struggled to respond. "Unknown design, Commander. It appeared from nowhere. Its weapons, they're unlike anything in our database." Torres slammed his clawed hand on the emergency beacon. "All ships, defensive formation. Focus fire on the new arrival." The Vrex vessels responded quickly, breaking off their attack on the crippled Concord ship and turning their weapons toward the Defiant. Energy beams lanced through space, heading straight for the human warship. On the Defiant's bridge, Juwon remained calm. Evasive pattern Delta. Bring point defense systems online. The massive warship moved with unexpected agility for its size, rolling to present a smaller target profile. Dozens of smaller turrets across its hull activated simultaneously, firing precisely calculated bursts that intercepted the incoming Vrex weapons fire. "Return fire," Juwon commanded. "Target their weapons systems." The Defiant's main batteries unleashed a barrage of focused energy that sliced through the nearest Vrex ship's armor. Secondary explosions cascaded along its hull as weapon emplacements were systematically destroyed. "The third Vrex vessel is attempting to flee," reported Executive Officer Taeyong. Juwon's expression hardened. "Disable their engines. No one escapes to report until we understand the situation better." A final torpedo struck the fleeing ship's propulsion system, leaving it adrift in space. In less than 5 minutes, the battle was over. 3 Vrex warships floated powerless, their crews in disarray, their weapons silenced. Communications Officer Haijin looked up from her station. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from the Concord vessel. They're thanking us for our intervention." "Open a channel," Juwon ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves properly." Across the galaxy, aboard the massive Concord station named Harmony, the Security Council had gathered in emergency session. The circular chamber housed representatives from the 27 species that formed the Galactic Concord, many attending via holographic projection. High Counselor Maru of the Pellerin species stood at the center of the chamber. His crystalline body structure reflected the light from the massive holographic display showing the recent battle. "This unknown vessel defeated a Vrex battle group with minimal effort," he stated, his voice resonating with harmonic undertones. "A feat none of our ships could accomplish alone." Defense Minister Layla frowned, her orange skin wrinkling around her 3 eyes. "Where did they come from? How did a species develop such technologies without our knowledge? More importantly," added Trade Minister Sora, "are they a threat to the Concord?" The chamber fell silent as Intelligence Director Toru stepped forward. The small, gray-skinned alien nodded to a technician, and the holographic display changed to show a blue-green planet. "We've identified their homeworld," Toru explained, his voice soft but carrying throughout the chamber. "It's called Earth. It exists in a star system we cataloged centuries ago, but dismissed for colonization due to its extreme conditions." The display zoomed in to show details of the planet's surface: vast oceans, mountain ranges, and sprawling cities. "It's a high-gravity death world," Toru continued, "nearly twice the gravity of our standard colonial requirements. The atmosphere contains oxygen at levels toxic to most Concord species. They experience extreme weather patterns, tectonic instability, and dangerous levels of radiation from their star." Murmurs spread through the council as the implications became clear. "Their physiological adaptations alone make them remarkable," Toru added. "Based on our limited scans of their vessel, they appear to be carbon-based bipeds with significant musculature and endoskeletal structures. Their biology suggests they could survive environmental conditions that would kill most Concord species." Defense Minister Layla's expression grew more troubled. "And these, humans, have built warships that outclass our best defensive technology." "The vessel appears to be called Defiant," Toru replied. "And according to the communication they established with our patrol ship, they claim to come in peace." "Peace," scoffed Security Director Kano. "Armed with weapons that could decimate our fleets." High Counselor Maru raised his crystalline hand for silence. "Whatever their intentions, these humans have saved Concord lives today. Protocol demands we invite them for formal contact." He paused, looking around the chamber. "And prudence suggests we not make enemies of them until we understand what we're dealing with." The council reluctantly agreed, unaware that their carefully ordered galactic society was about to change forever. Captain Juan and a small delegation from the Defiant stood in the grand reception hall of Harmony Station. The massive space stretched hundreds of meters in every direction, with a domed ceiling that displayed a real-time view of surrounding space. The 5 humans looked remarkably plain compared to the exotic assembly of alien species that had gathered to meet them. Juwan wore her formal Navy uniform with its simple silver insignia, while beside her stood Chief Diplomat Minjin Lee, Science Officer Juno Kang, Security Chief Sungo Park, and Communications Officer Hyejin Kang. They had spent the journey to Harmony Station studying the basic information provided by the Concord patrol ship they had rescued. The air hummed with the sound of translation devices as representatives from 27 species tried to make sense of these newcomers. Some aliens towered over the humans, while others barely reached their knees. Some had multiple limbs, tentacles or wings, while others floated in special containment fields. The diversity was staggering. Diplomat Naru of the Tresson stepped forward. His blue-scaled skin gleamed under the bright lights, and his 4 eyes blinked in an unsettling pattern. He spread his 4 upper limbs in what his species considered a welcoming gesture. "We welcome you to the Galactic Concord," Naru began smoothly, his voice perfectly translated by the small device at Juwan's ear. "We are pleased to offer your species protection and guidance as you join our civilized community." Juwan smiled politely, noting the condescension in Naru's tone. She had dealt with enough political figures on Earth to recognize when someone was talking down to her. "That's very generous," she replied carefully. "However, we're not seeking protection. We're interested in establishing diplomatic relations as equals." A ripple of surprised murmurs swept through the alien delegation. Several species made gestures of shock or confusion that their translation devices struggled to interpret. Naru's upper left eye twitched slightly. "Perhaps you misunderstand the structure of galactic society," he continued, his tone now that of a teacher addressing a slow student. "New species typically require centuries of mentorship before they can fully participate in Concord affairs. It is for your own benefit, of course." Minjin Lee stepped forward. The seasoned diplomat had negotiated peace during Earth's last global conflict, and he recognized a power play when he saw one. "We understand perfectly," he interrupted, his voice firm but respectful. "But humanity has developed independently, and we intend to remain sovereign. We seek friendship, trade, and mutual cooperation, not supervision." Defense Minister Layla moved closer, her orange skin wrinkling around her three eyes as she studied the humans with open curiosity. "Yet you possess military technology that rivals our most advanced designs," she said. "Your ship disabled 3 Vrex vessels that have been terrorizing our border worlds for decades. How did you achieve this level of development in isolation?" "Competition breeds innovation," Juwan replied simply. "And Earth has never lacked for competition." She paused, considering how much to reveal. "Our planet is home to hundreds of nations, thousands of languages, and countless different cultures. We have fought each other for resources, land, and ideologies since before we could write. Only recently, after nearly destroying ourselves, did we unite." Science Officer Chono added, "Our world is also exceptionally hazardous by your standards. High gravity, extreme weather, tectonic activity, and diverse ecosystems filled with predators. Survival alone required advanced technology." The alien representatives exchanged glances. For most Concord species, the idea of sharing a planet with competing nations was unthinkable. They typically evolved towards single planetary governments before achieving space travel. "What do you want from the Concord, then?" asked High Counselor Maru, his crystalline body catching the light as he stepped forward. "Knowledge," Juwan replied. "Cultural exchange, trade, and perhaps alliance against common threats." She looked pointedly at the holographic display showing the Vrex ships the Defiant had disabled. "An interesting proposal," Naru said, recovering his composure. "But surely a species as independent as yours would not want to be burdened by Concord regulations and responsibilities." Minjin smiled, recognizing the diplomatic trap. "On the contrary, we respect the need for rules in shared spaces. We simply wish to participate in creating those rules, rather than merely following them." "Unprecedented," muttered one alien to another. "No newly contacted species has ever." "How many ships like the Defiant does Earth possess?" asked Security Director Kano bluntly, interrupting the side conversations. A tense silence fell over the room. The question revealed the Concord's true concern. Were these humans a military threat? Juwan met Kano's four-eyed gaze steadily. "Enough to defend ourselves," she answered. "Not enough to threaten a peaceful alliance of 27 worlds. We didn't come here looking for enemies, Director Kano." "Yet you arrived in a warship," Kano countered. "We arrived in an exploration vessel with defensive capabilities," Juwan corrected. "Given what we encountered, I'm glad we did. The patrol ship we saved carried 16 Concord citizens who would now be dead if we had come unarmed." High Counselor Maru raised his hand for calm. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion more productively over a meal. We have prepared food compatible with your biology based on the data you shared." As the formal reception transitioned to a dinner, the humans found themselves separated, each surrounded by curious Concord representatives. The diplomatic dance had only just begun, and both sides knew the future of galactic politics hung in the balance. The elegant reception in Harmony Station's Grand Hall was in full swing. After 3 days of tense but productive talks, the atmosphere had finally begun to relax. Captain Juwan sipped a blue drink that tasted surprisingly like Earth peaches while listening to a Pellerin scientist explain their crystalline biology. Suddenly, piercing alarms cut through the ambient music. Red emergency lights began flashing across the ceiling. Conversations stopped mid-sentence as emergency announcements echoed in multiple languages throughout the vast chamber. "What's happening?" Juwan asked, setting down her drink. Before anyone could answer, Defense Minister Layla rushed into the reception hall, flanked by security officers. Her orange skin had paled to a sickly yellow, and all 3 of her eyes were wide with panic. "The Vrex have launched a major offensive against Pellerin Prime," she announced, her voice tight with strain. "They bypassed our outer defense grid using some kind of new cloaking technology. Planetary shields are failing. Our nearest battle fleet is 3 days away. High Counselor Maru's crystalline form trembled slightly. My homeworld, there are billions of civilians on Pellerin Prime. Security Director Kano stepped forward. We must evacuate key personnel immediately. The Vrex have never attempted an attack of this scale before. This could be the beginning of a full-scale war. Captain Juan exchanged quick glances with her officers who had gathered around her. Executive Officer Taedong gave her a subtle nod. The Defiant can be there in hours, Juan said, her voice cutting through the panicked chatter. The room fell silent as every alien eye turned toward the human captain. What did you say? Asked Naru, disbelief evident in his voice. Our ship can reach Pellerin Prime within 5 hours, Juan repeated. We can hold off the Vrex until your reinforcements arrive. One ship against a Vrex invasion fleet, Security Director Kano scoffed. Even your advanced vessel cannot stand against such numbers. We won't know until we try, replied Juan calmly. High Counselor Maru stepped closer to the human captain, studying her face carefully. Why would you help us? We have signed no treaties. We have made no alliances. Your species owes us nothing. Juan met his gaze steadily. Because that's what neighbors do, she replied simply. We help each other in times of need. 30 minutes later, the Defiant broke away from Harmony Station, its engines glowing bright blue as it accelerated to maximum sublight speed. Jump calculations complete, reported Navigation Officer Doyen. Ready to engage FTL drive on your command. All hands, secure for combat jump. Juan ordered over the ship-wide communication system. We'll be emerging directly into an active battle zone. The bridge crew worked with practiced efficiency, preparing weapons systems and double-checking shields. They had trained for combat scenarios, but never against an alien invasion fleet. Captain, Tactical Officer Sunwoo said quietly, even with our advanced systems, we'll be outnumbered at least 20 to 1 according to the Concorde's intelligence. Juan nodded. Then we'll have to be smarter, not just stronger. She turned to face her bridge crew. The people of Earth have always faced impossible odds. It's practically our specialty. Let's show the galaxy what humans can do when the stakes are high. With that, she gave the order to jump. The Defiant tore through space-time, emerging directly in the heart of the Vrex formation orbiting Pellerin Prime. The blue-green planet below showed ugly burn marks where Vrex weapons had penetrated the failing shields. Dozens of sleek, predatory Vrex vessels hung in orbit, continuing their relentless bombardment. The human warship's sudden appearance, calculated to precision by Doyen, caused immediate chaos. 2 Vrex ships collided as they attempted emergency maneuvers to avoid the unexpected arrival. 3 more broke off their attack on the planet to face this new threat. Target the command vessel, ordered Juan. All batteries, fire at will. The Defiant unleashed its full arsenal. Quantum torpedoes streaked across space, while energy weapons lanced out with surgical precision. The Vrex flagship's shields flared and failed under the concentrated assault. They're regrouping, reported Sunwoo. 15 vessels moving to surround us. Activate gravitational manipulation systems, Juan commanded. Execute Maneuver Epsilon. What followed was a display of tactical brilliance that left Concorde observers stunned. The Defiant began to move in ways that seemed to defy physics, using controlled gravitational fields to enhance its maneuverability. It accelerated and changed direction with impossible speed, evading Vrex targeting systems while continuing to strike with devastating accuracy. From the surface of Pellerin Prime, the battle appeared as flashes of light in the night sky. In the Planetary Defense Center, Pellerin officers watched in amazement as sensor data showed the human vessel dancing among the Vrex ships, systematically disabling their weapons. They're using gravitational manipulation to enhance their maneuverability, noted Tactical Officer Sunwoo, who was now coordinating with the few remaining Concorde defenders on the surface. We can create microgravity wells to disrupt their formations. For 12 brutal hours, the Defiant fought against overwhelming odds. Its hull showed blackened scars where Vrex weapons had broken through the shields. 2 of its 4-engine nacelles were damaged, and the crew worked tirelessly to maintain weapon systems that were never designed for such extended combat. But they held the line. The Vrex attempt to land ground forces was thwarted. Their bombing runs were intercepted. The planetary shield generators were given crucial time to be repaired. When the Concorde reinforcement fleet finally arrived 3 days later, they found a scene they could scarcely believe. The Defiant, damaged but intact, holding position above Pellerin Prime. Around it floated the disabled hulks of Vrex warships. The invasion fleet was in full retreat, having suffered losses not seen in a century of Vrex aggression. The Grand Chamber of the Concorde bustled with activity as representatives from all 27 member species gathered for the historic vote. The vast, circular room, with its soaring ceiling decorated with star maps, had never held such tension. In the center stood Captain Juwan, her formal uniform freshly pressed despite the bandage visible at her temple, a reminder of the battle at Pellerin Prime 2 weeks earlier. The Defiant's crew had become celebrities throughout Concorde space. News of the lone human ship that had stood against a Vrex invasion fleet had spread to every corner of the galaxy. Children of various species now played with toys modeled after the Earth vessel. High Counselor Maru raised his crystalline arms for silence. We will now vote on Resolution 7293, the formal recognition of humanity as a sovereign power with full membership status in the Galactic Concorde. One by one, the representatives cast their votes. Most were quick to approve, especially the Pellerins, whose homeworld had been saved by human intervention. Others hesitated, concerned about the implications of admitting such a militarily capable species as equals rather than subjects. When the last vote was recorded, the Grand Chamber fell silent as the results appeared on the massive display. For the first time in its 5,000-year history, the Galactic Concorde had voted to admit a species with full sovereign status rather than protectorate status. "This is unprecedented," whispered one delegate to another as the results glowed above them. "No species has ever bypassed the mentorship period." Captain Juwan stood calmly as High Counselor Maru approached with the formal treaty. The document, written on a special material that shimmered with embedded data crystals, represented a fundamental shift in galactic politics. "Your actions at Pellerin Prime have earned humanity our respect," Maru acknowledged, his voice carrying throughout the chamber. The Defiant and her crew showed courage and skill beyond what we thought possible from a newly spacefaring species. However, I must note that some of our members remain concerned about your military capabilities. Juwan took the treaty and gazed at it thoughtfully before responding. "Those concerns are understandable, Counselor, but I hope our actions have demonstrated that our capabilities come with responsibility. We did not hesitate to defend your people when they were in danger." Maru's crystalline features caught the light as he nodded. Indeed, though many wonder how a single world could produce such advanced technology. "The Defiant is merely a mid-range vessel by our standards," Juwan replied quietly. "We have larger ships patrolling our borders." A shocked silence followed this revelation. Several security officials exchanged alarmed glances, while Defense Minister Layla's 3 eyes widened in surprise. "I see," Maru finally responded, his voice carefully neutral. "Then it seems we have much to learn from each other." The signing ceremony proceeded with formal precision, but the mood had shifted. The Concorde species now understood they weren't merely admitting a promising new member. They were forming an alliance with a power that might rival their combined strength. 2 days later, as preparations were made for the Defiant's return journey to Earth, Juwan stood alone on Harmony Station's observation deck. The vast window offered a breathtaking view of the nearby nebula, its swirling purples and blues creating a cosmic light show. "Beautiful, isn't it?" came a voice from behind her. Juwan turned to see diplomat Naru approaching. The Tressan moved with the natural grace of his species, all 6 limbs in perfect coordination. "It reminds me of Earth's auroras," Juwan replied, though on a much grander scale. Naru stood beside her, his 4 eyes fixed on the nebula. I wish to speak with you privately before your departure. I feel I owe you an apology." Jiwan raised an eyebrow, but remained silent. "I misjudged your species," he admitted, his voice lacking its usual diplomatic polish. "When the Defiant first appeared, I thought you were another group of primitives seeking our wisdom and protection. Many new species are. They arrive in our space with simple ships and wide-eyed wonder, eager to join the galactic community as students." He turned to face her directly. "But humanity is different. You arrived fully formed, with technology we can barely understand, and a confidence that borders on audacity." Jiwan smiled. "A common mistake is assuming that different means less advanced. Evolution takes many paths, diplomat Naru. Humans developed in isolation, but that isolation bred innovation. We had only ourselves to compete against, and we compete very intensely." "So I've gathered from studying your history," Naru replied. "Your wars, your divisions, yet also your art, your philosophy, your resilience. You are contradictions given form." The station's announcement system chimed softly, indicating final preparations for the Defiant's departure. "I should return to my ship," Jiwan said. "We have a contingent of your ambassadors waiting to make first contact with Earth. I imagine they're nervous." "With good reason," Naru replied with what his species considered a smile. "The galaxy is about to become much more interesting." As the Defiant prepared to depart, its hull now bearing the marks of battle alongside the newly added Concord Alliance insignia, the assembled alien dignitaries watched from Harmony Station's main viewing gallery. Their expressions and postures conveyed a mixture of hope and trepidation. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and nothing would ever be the same. The old balance of power had shifted forever, not through conquest, but through a simple act of courage, a lone warship standing against impossible odds to protect strangers. As the Defiant vanished in a flash of distorted space, beginning its journey home, many wondered what other surprises Earth might reveal in the years to come. The end.